Yeah, he's a turnaround. Hello and welcome to Springboard, your virtual university. My name is Albert Ukran. Welcome you to Ghana's foremost developmental program and that place where the greatest minds in the world converge. Springboard is brought to you by the Springboard Roadshow Foundation in partnership with the Enterprise Group and the Ghana Growth Program, a collaboration between MasterCard Foundation and the Springboard Roadshow Foundation. Our media partners are the Multimedia Group and Graphic. So today we want to have a wonderful conversation about positioning for progress. Positioning for progress. I have a feeling that if you're a striker and you spend your time in your own penalty box, you may score, but that goal might be an own goal and will be a deficit rather than an advantage. So how do you position yourself to ensure that you progress? How do you make sure that just by your positioning, the probability of you having an advantage is significantly increased? My guest for today is well positioned to give us insights into how to start the year on a strong footing. In the month of December, we had some conversations about ending the year right, and we cut them in snipers for you on social media. But today he's here in person to walk us through how to start the year on a strong footing. Josiah Eyison is the CEO and co-founder of Ispace Foundation. Josiah, good to see you again.
Likewise, Happy New Year.
Many happy returns. How is the year driving so far?
It's been positive. It kind of gives you a new, slate to start off strategy-wise to see how you can kind of push your goals for the rest of the year. So far, so good.
At church, ICGC, we have something called the Fresh Start. Mm-hmm. So when you start the year, we create an opportunity for people to just reflect and pray, and it's called Fresh Start. I get a sense from what you're saying about a clean slate that the beginning of the year really is like a time to start afresh.
Yes.
What's the significance of this fresh start?
Because it kind of gives you like the roadmap for you to reflect on what you did the previous year. And it gives you the fresh start because then you know you're starting again. You can regather your thoughts and then approach whatever goal that you had set for yourself in that sense. And it adds to your confidence because sometimes you might not have achieved what you intended last year, but having a fresh start, it's a good way to go. So now you have a new direction, new vision to just kind of move forward. So it's always good to have a fresh start most of the time.
Is it like halftime in football where you kind of like reflect on the first half and then plan for the second half?
I guess you can look at it like that, right? Because then, because once you get a halftime, you might be 1-0 down. But then if you then analyze why you're 1-0 down, what it is that you need to do, reposition your players and form a new strategy, you have a fresh start. I like the fact that you even talked about the football because there was a game that I watched. It was Germany and South Korea, one of the World Cups. And Germany went a goal down, I think it was in the 89th minute or whatever. But the way the players behaved, as if, you know what, okay, we're down, but we have a fresh start again. Even though they lost, it was just the mentality of it. And I think using that football analogy is a very good analogy to use.
Would you like another football analogy?
You can,
Yeah, because I know you're an Arsenal supporter.
No. We are for Manchester United.
Okay, so they're not on the same side of the coin. So you stay safe. What's the dance between the year that has gone by and the new one? So let's deal with the halftime. Mm-hmm. What are the tools you can use to reflect on the past year that would enable you to, as it were, avoid the pitfalls of the last year and then capitalize on the gains from the previous year?
Good question. And I think from a business side, we use a lot of tools for analysis and stuff, but we tend to use it for businesses. Most of the time, we don't use it for ourselves. So when you look at the SWOT analysis, for example, you can use it even for yourself because from the strength, the weaknesses, opportunities, and the threats that comes with it. So you will look at the strengths. What strengths did you have last year that you can take into this coming year? And then what weaknesses did you need to develop on that was still in existence last year that you need to develop on now. And then when you look at the new year, what opportunities are coming in the new year that you can then take advantage of, so to speak. Then the threats, who are the new players that might get in the way of you achieving your goal this year? Because last year's opponents might not be this new year's opponents. So even using that SWOT analysis for yourself can actually work. But people tend to rarely self-analyze, right? We're always looking externally. And I think we need to use exactly the same tools that we use for business on ourselves. There's this self-analysis tool where it's a quadrant. So you have soft skills and hard skill in one box. Then you have values in another box. Then you have emotional intelligence in another box. And then areas in which you need to develop. So once you're able to then use these tools, it tells you, okay, these are the soft skills that I have. These are the hard skills that I have. But these are my core values, which I'm going to move into this new year with. Then you look at your emotional intelligence, because right now that's where the world is shifting. Emotional intelligence far outweighs, I would say, qualifications nowadays. But then the developmental side is where you're actually honest with yourself that, okay, where are the areas that I'm lacking that I need to develop? So it could be probably taking on a new skill, go online, go and learn some new skills that you need to learn, or improving your communication skills or improving your time management. Those are things that you honestly put down for you to develop. Then you map it out how you're going to achieve that. So for me, those are the kind of tools that I would use, really.
For the kind of honest evaluation you're talking about, it implies some level of vulnerability. Somebody said to me, I won't go and do the checkup, I won't go and do the test, I don't want to know. But not knowing will not change what it is. What would we say to that? People who sometimes just don't want to know, just because they would feel vulnerable, they would feel inadequate.
And I think what you just said is right. And I think it's a shift of mindset. We need to take our mindset from just because you find that something is wrong, or you might find out that something is wrong, that's not the end of it. That's actually an opportunity for you to then gain a new skill or to grow and develop. See, so it's better to know. It's always good to know. Because you can't go to a new challenge without knowing what your deficits are, right? And the deficits itself is not a negative thing. It's just saying that you lack this particular thing. It didn't say that you're not good enough, you're not going to be able to. It's just saying that you lack this particular thing. So that being vulnerable is what strength is. Being able to see that, okay, I need to go and do this. I might not be good enough, but I need to go and do it. That in itself is strength. So we need to shift our mindset from looking at vulnerability being a negative thing, is actually a positive thing.
Wonderful. So let's go to the second half, what you call the fresh, what we've called the fresh start so far. So you start the year fresh, well excited about the year. What is the role of that energy with which you start the year? I mean, I remember that as a pastor, I do a crossover service, and I sometimes realize that some people who come to the crossover service, it's not all of them that come from the beginning. Some of them just come for that burst into the new year. So they come around 11 o'clock, and right when you cross at midnight, they are considering leaving. And for them, it's just to get some awareness that they enter the new year on a clean slate with God. But just wrapping the whole thing around, what is the role of that energy, that drive, that vim, that motivation with which you start the year?
Yeah, and I think, again, you use great analogies in that sense, because starting, knowing that, okay, I've got a new burst of energy, I can change, quote unquote, my destiny or the outcome, I think that's what most of us are driven by. Because as the year goes on and you've not achieved everything that you want to achieve, if you operate by the 365 model, now, for some reason, you have year one. So now you've got 365 days to achieve what it is that you need to achieve. So that's what gives you that energy, that I have more days, more opportunities, new things are coming in. Because again, from the business world, you find out that at the beginning of the year, that's when a lot of organizations are either doing grants or, giving sponsorship, because they also start off their year that way. So then that means that, let's say if you had this great idea towards the end of the year, but you couldn't get sponsorship for it, now you've got a new energy and burst, knowing that this company has remodeled their budget and they're going to start the first quarter. So then it gives you that energy that opportunities are abound. And if you exist in the business space, you will find that from January to probably January, February, March-ish, a lot of the opportunities for grants and, scholarships and sponsorships will come around the first quarter. So that's where the energy comes from, because there's opportunity to start again. You can map out everything and you have 365 rather than, let's say, 30 days or 2 days left out of the year. And I think personally, that's where a lot of the energy comes from.
So there you have it. 365 days, fresh start, energy, opportunity. These are the themes running around your thoughts about the drive of a new year. Let's go to the flickering flame. As the year starts with all the energy, all the drive, all the anticipation, sometimes a knockdown, sometimes some factor I wouldn't even want to guess hits you, and then you are back to where you were before, or somehow the energy begins to wane, and then after a few weeks, you've forgotten what you started with, the drive. What accounts for the loss of energy, and how do you sustain the push all the way through?
For me, two things: your purpose and your vision. And again, when those two align, you then kind of like your purpose is here, your vision is here. But in between that is the resources that you need. So it's almost like a triangular effect where this is my purpose, this is the vision, but then I lack resources. So I might have a great vision. I'm driven by purpose to do something, but I'm not from a particular area that might get the grant, so I don't know anybody, so I don't know how to network and all of those other things. And that's where a lot of people then fall short, because they lose their purpose, they lose the vision. And permit me to use an analogy where when you look at the three wise men, for example, when they were going to find the birthplace of Jesus, they went through different spaces where somebody would say, I don't know, or go here. But because they had the purpose, they had the vision, they knew where they wanted to go, irrespective of what they encountered on the way, they still went where they were supposed to go. So it was almost like we lose that drive because we lose our vision, we lose our purpose. The resources will come along the way as long as you stay on the North Star. And a lot of the times, our vision is so big, which is a great thing, but we need to stabilize ourselves in reality. So this analogy of how do you eat an elephant, you cut it in small bits. And so the vision is an elephant, but then the application has to be in smaller bits. So let's say you want to earn $100,000 at the end of the year. Your vision and your purpose is to earn it at the end of the year. Why are you stressing yourself in the first quarter of the year just because you got 10,000? The vision is to get 100,000 at the end of the year. So realign and then ask yourself, what am I missing? What did I do right this week? Maybe, again, I didn't go to a networking event that this person was meant to be there, and I didn't go. Why didn't I go? Because I was bogged down doing something that I wasn't supposed to do. Okay, analyze yourself, hold yourself accountable, and then move forward. So do not lose sight of the vision of what it is that you want to achieve. And a lot of the time we lose sight of our vision because we're so entrenched in other people's vision. Oh, this person is doing this. So then you move to this, or there's a trend happening. So then you get dragged off in a different, space. Realign yourself. What is my purpose? What is my vision? Then you move in that direction. For me, I think it's worked for me. And most of the people that I work with, I just tell them, always have your vision, your North Star, and then push towards it. So for me, that's one of the best ways to go around it.
So if I stayed with your analogy about the wise men seeking Jesus, the star that led them will be your vision. So your vision must be before you always.
All the time.
Let me pinch your last thought about not getting distracted by what other people are doing. It's a big temptation, isn't it?
Very.
Why must we avoid it?
The reason why we need to avoid it is, and again, since I'm talking to a pastor, and earlier conversation you talked about God gives us different talents and it reflects us in different ways, right? Yours might not show right now because you've not done the work that you need to do. And somebody else's is showing right now not necessarily because they're doing the work that they need to do, but maybe they're sitting on the shoulders of others that you don't know of. And then you then go and follow them. In that process, you lose your vision, you lose your way, because we all have different values. We all have different, I would say, things to bring to the table, so to speak. And you have to focus on the talent that you have, develop the talent that you have. It's okay to look at other people, but do not be moved or distracted by what it is that they're doing. And sometimes you can even say, okay, what did they do to get there? Usually we don't even do that. We just, this person's made it, I'm going to copy them. You never sat down and figured, what were they doing to get there? And one of the conversations that I have with people is like, you look at, let's say, Elon Musk or Bill Gates, for example, and you want to be a billionaire. You're 25 years old and you're stressing yourself to be a billionaire. Ask yourself, what was Bill Gates doing when he was 25 years old? That's where you need to be. And what resources did he have when he was 25 years old? Because what he did at that age is what made him get to that point. See, so you can't look at somebody that's twice your age or comes from a different network system that you have to want to emulate the person just like that. You need to figure out what got them there and then map yourself in that direction.
That is a process focus.
Yes.
Rather than an outcome focus. I'll tell you what, in my days in printing, I told the story a couple of times. In my days in printing, we went to a big fair. We used to go to fairs in a fair called Drupa, and then another one called, I think, Ispace or so. We used to go to Düsseldorf, Birmingham, and we just go and look at these latest print machines. And some of them were huge, long, and they could do so many things. I remember one machine I saw had one Indian who was just smoking while he was working somewhere in Amsterdam. And the machine that he was using was doing what I believed about 50 people would do back home in my press in Ghana. And at one of the fairs, a brand new multi-purpose, multi-dimensional machine had been released. And there were 3 different nationalities from 3 different continents. And I promise you, I would never mention where they were from. But one of them, from one part of the world, took pictures of the machine and its output, and then took an invoice and were negotiating on how to procure it and use it. The second nationality from a different continent climbed the machine and was looking into the engine to understand the mechanism so they would go and reproduce it. The third continent stood by the machine and took pictures to show their folks at home that they were there soon. Please comment on these 3. And don't try to guess which one is which.
I think in a way I kind of know who the third one is, but we'll leave it there. And the second one, I kind of guess which one will be. But you see, one analyze resources that they have, right? And the potential of getting that particular machine and knowing that, okay, give me the invoice. I want to know how much it is. This is what the machine does, no problem. I have the financial capital to do that. They might come from a continent where they can raise funds, right? So it's easy for them to go, speak to investors, show them the machine and say, this is how much it costs. And an investor will give them the money. They can procure it and that's okay. The second one figured I might not have money, but I have the engineering mindset and I have the tools to produce this thing. So I'm going to take the time to figure out how this thing works and then build it myself because I'm confident in the skill set that I have. One has resources and one has a skill set. The third one was just blown away by the machine more so that I just went to look at it. And it's not a case of they might not have been, mentally capable of doing something, but the environment that they come from, one, they're going to think, even if I take this machine or the invoice, who's going to give me the money to buy the invoice, to buy the machine? So I'm not even going to, try that. And if I open the machine and I look inside, do I have people back home that can build this machine for me? And so because of that, I'm just going to take the pictures, just to go and oppress my people back home that, yeah, I've seen the machine and, and put it on social media and be happy about it and move on, right? And it just shows where we are as people. And again, lack of a better word, I kind of would guess what the third party would be. Yeah, the third party would be. And that speaks to what the reality is. You have certain individuals who see a system, they know who they can work with to then procure that. Then you have somebody who then can say, you know what, I want to know how this thing works, because they have the skill set to then produce it. But the third person would just go and take pictures, because their reality on ground is, no matter what I do, I will not be able to produce this thing. But the irony of it is, they could have connected with both.
Exactly what I was looking for from you. Let me summarize what you do. So you try to create hubs where startups can be guided. They can be pointed to opportunity. They can be rewired in their minds to see things differently. So let me borrow your wisdom for this person, this young person in a particular continent. And is it possible that whereas I have situated this situation in 3 different continents, is it possible from your work that these 3 attitudes can be found in the same place, in the same cohort of entrepreneurs you're working with?
Yeah.
Great. So it's not really a continental thing.
No.
It's just a different attitudes that we have. Would you agree to that, Josiah?
Yes.
So now help me. If you met 3 young entrepreneurs starting the year, one of them is thinking opportunity. This, if I get it, I can double my sales. I can do this, and therefore, let me start negotiating to see how I can get it. Second person says, I can afford it. I can build my own, and I can even improve what they've done. The third person says, oh, wow, this is great. At least I saw it. That third person, what can they do differently in this year?
And it's a great question. This person needs to understand already what they're working with. So you know you don't have the skill set or you don't have the resources, but you have the salesperson's mentality, because the way you saw it and you said, wow, that tells me that you're a storyteller, right? Because you've seen something and it's amazed you. Now, put that idea that you just saw, put it down, and then sell that to somebody else. So you can go to somebody else and say, you know what, I went to this place, I saw a machine that can do A, B, C, and D. If you want to procure the machine, I can connect you, or you become even a salesperson. You don't have to create the machine to sell it. You can then go and speak to the person that actually is selling the machine and say, you know what, I can be your salesperson in this particular area. All you have to do is just give me the contract that says that I'm your rep in this country, and then I will go and sell it on your behalf. So you're a storyteller. And I think a lot of the mistake that entrepreneurs or some entrepreneurs make is they feel like they have to have the skills to create that machine. No, you don't. You don't have to necessarily have the resources to, buy the machine. You just have to look at the fact that you can tell a story. You're a salesperson. So analyze that strength, because when you look at something and then you're in love with the thing, why are you in love with the thing? Because you figured out that, wow, this thing is amazing. It can do this. It can do that. It's a sales mentality. And just narrow that down into telling a beautiful story to somebody in your country that has the resources that would then buy the thing. Or you could have gone to a university and spoken to the university and say, well, you have engineering students over here. I went to this country. This is a machine that I saw. And the machine does A, B, C, and D. Can we produce that machine in this country?
Organize a discussion.
Yeah.
Anything. Just think, in this, is there an opportunity?
100%.
This is Springboard, your virtual university. A chance story I just told Josiah Eyison, and it's breaking it down into the various opportunities that one can find, even if you believe that you have a limitation. When I come back from the break, what I'll do is to take Josiah on a journey that will try to show us the different abilities that we have. I told him that I am strong in words. I write, I speak. I'm terrible in technology. I just have to borrow ideas. So we'll find out, knowing your strengths, how do they direct you in how you approach opportunity? And then, very importantly, we'll find a dance between your natural abilities and your learned behaviors. Some things may not come to you naturally, but if you learn it, it can make a difference. This is Springboard, your virtual university, brought to you by the Springboard Ratio Foundation and in partnership with MTN Ghana, the Enterprise Group, and Ghana Growth Program, a collaboration between Mastercard Foundation and Springboard. Our media partners, Multimedia Group and Graphic. So let's go for the break. But before that, let me give you the Enterprise Advantage tip for today. And the question is simple. What's a personal pension plan? Do you have one, by the way? A personal pension plan. And the response is you can enhance your retirement benefits with a personal pension plan. And that offers the opportunity to grow your retirement income, ensuring a comfortable retirement lifestyle. Once I interviewed a very, very renowned person in the public space, and he said, no one told us this 20 years ago our lives would have been so different. Well, you know, and you can make the choices to ensure that in the long term, you still have a comfortable life. This has been brought to you by the Enterprise Group. The number to call 030-263-4777. If you prefer email, info@myenterprisegroup.io. Enterprise, your advantage. Let's go for a break. When we come back, the dance between your natural ability and learned behavior. And by the way, what talent do you have? What ability do you have? Are you at an advantage or do you think you have nothing? Let's find out from Josiah. Please don't go away.
Whether it's 1924, 2024, or 2124, we've always known that you are driven by your sense of safety and well-being. It is what drives us to see you through from start to finish, from small to big. And in the last 100 years, as you have evolved, so have we also expanded to serve you in many ways. From cradle to grave, with expertise in insurance, life, pensions, properties, health, and for those beautiful, memorable goodbyes. It's 2024, and in all our markets, our pedigree is recognized, our strength respected, our expertise valued, and our solutions sought by all who desire an advantage in life. Experience the time-tested and truly trusted 100 years legacy of Ghana's oldest insurer. Take charge of your future now. Insurance, life, pensions, property management, funeral services, health insurance. Enterprise, your advantage.
Welcome back to Springboard Virtual University and to this conversation about positioning for progress. My guest, Josiah Eyison, the CEO of Ispace Foundation. Just to bring perspective, Josiah is involved in a hub that provides entrepreneurial growth, strategic, technical, and soft skills support to startups and businesses. And through his agency, he's raised about $1 million for startups to be able to push forward. And my conversation with him today has been about how to position yourself to ensure that you have maximum returns in the year that is ahead. We've looked at how to transition from the previous year into the new year. And the key words were about a fresh start. It was also about opportunity and was about the energy, the motivation, and the drive, and keeping the star ahead of you as you navigate your way through all the challenges and all the opportunities that you might face, just so you never lose track in the course of the year. But along the line, this thought about the experience I had at a printing fair in Europe came up, and we looked at 3 different people, and Josiah gave us a very interesting illustration about how, or interpretation of 3 different responses to one opportunity. Now, Josiah, based on that, let's touch on our different personalities and how we respond to opportunity. And I'd like to just walk you through the different groupings of ability. I mentioned that I'm a literary person, but I'm not a technical person. I'm also not a sporting person. I play tennis purely for fitness, but I'm not. I will lose any day and I take it in good faith. Yeah. And I watch, the watching damn good. and commentary. So there's a communication style person who is good in literary. There's a sporting person who is good in physical fitness stuff. There's that person who is good at education, inspiring people, research. There's somebody who's good at organizing. They can organize an event and they'll break it down. It's just amazing how some people organize. Then there are people who are good in technology. They can dismantle any gadget or device without a manual and put it together with a smile on their faces. And I just wonder what's wrong with them. And then there are people who use their hands to create stuff, the practical stuff. They can do just literally anything. Then there are entertainers, and there are manufacturers, people into invention, software, etc. These are just a selection of the different abilities that we have. And really from the scriptures, we see that God graced each one differently with a different ability. Let's talk about understanding that ability and how that can help us navigate the year well and optimize our opportunities and advantages.
Excellent summary. And I think for me, my personal understanding that we were created to be collaborative rather than be individual. And that's why God gave all of us those different skill sets. So in business, you have to look for people with different skill sets and different personalities, particularly if you're in a leadership position. The technical person might not be the storyteller. It's a good thing. Let them be technical. The storyteller might not be a technical person. They just need an understanding of how that technology works for them to craft a beautiful story and then tell. You might have somebody that's visual. So if you tell them a story, they're able to draw it out and then give it to the rest of the world. They will not be able to narrate it to everybody else, because even in storytelling, you have the visual people, then you have people that narrate it. So there's two separate skill sets. But then we live in a society where we are not taught to discover what our true talents are, right? So then what happens is then we find ourselves in an environment that we feel like we have to know everything. But you don't have to know everything. You have to know what you're good at. Then link with somebody that's also good at another thing, but then is alignment with the purpose that you're doing. So if you are a company that, let's say you sell movies, for example, what is the alignment? You bring in people that are good at editing, people that are good at filming, people that are good at sound, and all of these different skill sets, and you bring them together. Now, if everybody plays their role to the maximum, you end up with a good quality product to sell to the rest of the world. But who is going to sell it? You, the storyteller, because you have to go to Cannes, you have to go to the academies, and then go and pitch the story to them.
First Paco.
Yeah. All of these other people, you have to go to these places to pitch the story to them before they even want to sell and see the film. So that's why even when you look at films, they always give you like a 30 seconds trailer of the film, right? Why? Because you hear the voice, they're telling you in the beginning, and somebody's narrating it. It's a skill set. So that's what we need to do. As leaders, we need to recognize that you might not be the one that needs to do everything. Empower people around you that are good at doing other things and then bringing it all together. And as a society, that's what we need to push. Analyzing your true skill set and then finding out people that then you can help or work with to then achieve the particular goal. You shouldn't be able to do it yourself.
I can see two clear things that you're saying here, that if you were a technical person and you are so enamored with that technical ability, there's a possible temptation that if you are hiring, you will have people who are just like you. And then you will miss out on the value that the storyteller, that marketing person brings to the table.
Yeah.
I find that there's always a fight between finance people and marketing people because they need to learn to appreciate each other and they literally almost always see themselves as at loggerheads. So what you're saying is that, and the second thing you're saying is that in a partnership or in a startup business, you may be the technical person, but when it comes to pitching or telling the story to potential investors, you may need that storyteller who will understand the technical but present it so compelling that the investors would end up buying. And so you need all these people working together and a sense of appreciation that the fact that you are CEO does not mean you should be the one making the presentation.
Right. And I mean, you hit the nail on the head. There's this thing in business called equality rule, right? So then on equality rule, basically saying that just because you're the CEO doesn't mean that you are the one that's going to do this. Everybody has their role. I'm the technical person, I'm the marketing person, you're the CEO. So when it comes to decisions on marketing, you, the CEO, you have an unequal equality here. I am the marketing person. I am making that decision, right? And if it's technical, if we're creating an app or whatever the case may be, you, the CEO, that's not your ground. Leave it to your CTO to make that decision, because then in that space of decision ranking, you, the CEO, do not have, you can't outrank the person because that's not your skill set. And I think this is where ego, checking your ego, putting your ego in a box comes in. And there's something that we have to train people to also understand. And I like the fact that you use the word partnership, right? In that we are partners, yeah, we are co-founders, but then as a CEO, I'm the strategic person. So I have to be the one that goes and speaks on behalf of the company. So you, the technical person, might have created a great app, but then I am the one that has to sell it. See, so having that understanding also works. And I think this is where a lot of the discussion, where when you look at families, right, people say the man is the head and, you know, the woman is the neck or whatever, but without the two, it wouldn't work, because the head can't stand by itself. And the neck without a head, what is that? So everybody playing their role is important. And I think that is one of the things that happens in organizations or businesses fail because of that ego. That, you know, I'm the CEO, so I'm supposed to do it, or I'm the technical person, so I'm the one going to describe how the technology works. You know how it works, but you don't have the skill set to narrate how the thing works. So checking that ego in the box makes it work.
Let me throw you a very difficult question. What about a situation where somebody is hired to play a role and the CEO knows far more about that role than the person? Should the person keep their job?
Yeah, 100%. Meaning, because you're the CEO, you're a general, you're a war, like in the terms, you the warrior, you're the person that maps out how the vision of the war is supposed to be. You might have the skill set and experience because you've been to war for so many times, so you understand it, right? But then if that person that you've hired, you are better than the person, train the person to enhance the skills that they have. That would then leave you room to then gain more spaces, right? Because just because you're better than the person doesn't mean that the person doesn't have room to grow. It's actually
a period of training. Should they still have, let me borrow your principle again, on equality? Is that what you call it? So in the period where the person holds a role, all right, yes, as marketing manager, but in essence, the CEO is far more knowledgeable and experienced in marketing than the person. Should the person still, by virtue of rank, access what you called
equality rule? Yeah, they shouldn't. And this is where you straitjacket those expectations, because you map out the expectations. So you let the person know, I have 20 years experience in marketing and everything else. You have 5 years worth of experience in marketing. I know this market better than you. I know this terrain better than you. So certain decisions, I will allow you to make those decisions because it's your department. But the moment the decision needs to go external of the company, I would make the final decision. So you always have that rule that you can make certain decisions, but I get to make the final decision, especially if it's in the area where I have more expertise than you. And you communicate that very well to the person. And I think a lot of the friction comes when we don't communicate, because people feel like, oh, you employed me to do my work and you're getting in the way. And you've not communicated why I'm getting in your way, because I trust you. That's why you're here, but you don't have the experience that I have in order to make the final decision. So I'm going to mentor you to get to that point. But for now, I make the final decision. I will allow you to make decisions to this point, but when we get here, I will make the final decision.
These are too high.
But you have to.
The stakes are high.
Higher.
Okay. So at the highest level,
the CEO makes the decision.
Let me touch on communication.
Right.
From what you describe, I get the sense that it's doable, but without communication, there could be tension, there could be a lot of difficulty. Let's talk about communication, how critical it is to both the individual and to the organization for success this year. How big is communication?
Communication is a huge thing. And it's almost like a better analogy to use. It's always like the oil that you put in your car, right? You have to check every single morning to make sure it's at a level. So that means that you have to be going back and forth with your team, telling them the plan. This is what we're doing. How are we going to get there? This is what we did. And this is the plan. I need you to do this. I feel like you're achieving this, but you're not achieving this. This is the reason why. And you as a leader also have to leave room for them to then give you the feedback and saying, well, we weren't able to do this because of A, B, C, and D. What do you think? If we do not communicate, the moment we get onto the market will let us know that we didn't communicate. So it's exactly the same thing. If you don't check the oil in your car and you drive and it's empty, you will go, but the moment you get onto the N1, it stops. Then fumes start coming out of the car. Then you blame the mechanic, but you had time in the morning to have checked whether there was oil in it or not. And that's what communication is. That is what you need to just kind of keep your company going. So you have to communicate. And communication is it's different from information. Information is me telling you something. It's just a one-way track. Communication is a two-way thing. So I tell you something, then I allow you to respond. Then we come to an understanding of what it is that we discussed, we've communicated. But I think because we approach things from a hierarchy point of view, so everything sounds like an instructions, so people kind of shut themselves off. But then if we are communicating, then you know that I'm also taking your views on feedback,
right,
and having that two-way track, and that's how it works.
Well, what's the role of listening, good listening in communication?
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's one of the skills where I think leaders need to develop on, because we are always resorting to our natural reset button, right? Where, because I'm the leader, what I say goes, right? And if you look at our traditional system, you find that the kings and chiefs, the good ones, are the ones that actually listen more so than they speak, because they know their word is final. So the moment they speak, that's it. So then in most gatherings, they will sit down and listen and listen and listen before they speak. It's almost like the King Solomon effect, right? It's just you knowing that, absorbing all that information, you processing it in your head. So listening is actually a great skill set for a leader than actually speaking. But we tend to speak more as leaders than listen more as leaders, but we will get there.
I traveled to a part of our country, somewhere in the Middle Belt, the Bronga Afro region, in the course of this week. And I went to a particular tourist destination, and someone said to me, one of the presidents of this country used to come and spend quiet moments in this place. And in the evening, we'll walk through town normal and be talking to the people, just interacting with them. And by the time he leaves, is aware of everything going on. And I get a sense from what you're saying that you can be in a leadership position and think you know it all, only to find out that things have been deteriorating for a while and everyone knows, but only you don't know.
Yeah.
I heard a story about a pastor who used to stand at the exit of his church after service and, as they say in secondary school, collect funds. Oh, Pastor, the sermon was great. Oh, very nice, very good. Oh, Pastor had a wonderful service. Oh, very nice, very good. And then one, Mrs. Robinson came and said, Pastor, my husband died last night. And the guy said, very nice, very good. Because it was a program response. He wasn't even listening. He was just collecting his funds. And so you're seeing that you can get stuck up in what you are doing.
Yes.
And there's feedback coming. The market is responding. There are issues and you're not listening because you are caught up in your own narrative. And then suddenly it hits you and you're like, where did this come from? We've been telling you
for this while.
Wow. It's a sobering moment, isn't it?
Because very sobering, because sometimes leaders surround themselves with people that depend on agreeability to survive, right? See, so again, you have the leader here, because usually you're far away from the normal people that you're supposed to be leading, right? But they are the ones that have the real information because they're the ones in the market, so to speak. But because in the middle, you have people that their job depends on just agreeing with you. So they will tell you anything that you need to hear. Oh, it's working and everything else. And then you're good to go. But like you said, as a leader, you need to come down and listen to the people that you're leading and get the feedback from them and saying, how is it going? How is the market? What is happening? And then listen to their grievances. You might not want to hear it. And that's where in the beginning you talk about vulnerability, right? Good leadership is about being vulnerable, being open to know that some of your ideas might not always be 100%. Because the people that you think you're doing it for will tell you, nah, this is what we want. We want this, we want that, but you're not doing this, and take it on board and then find out that, okay, I can do something about it. It's actually an opportunity. Listening is actually an opportunity for a leader to be better. So any leader that shuts their ears off to listening will be found wanting in the end anyway.
I spoke to a former CEO of Unilever on the same show, and she said to me, we can leave a boardroom and I change from my skirt suit into my t-shirt and jeans and go straight to Makola. Go to the women who sell, go to the retailers, go to the users, and by the time I come back, I'm so rich in awareness, and I can compare what they say with what the research people are telling me, and I can contest them because I've heard it right from the base where the users are. Let's talk about challenges. Sometimes you find that the narrative is always about how the year that has gone by was so challenging, and those challenges have literally carried over into the new year. How should one respond when you are inundated or overwhelmed with challenges that seem to have transitioned with you into the new year?
Great question. And I think it's the way in which we look at the challenges. Challenges are routes to opportunities, right? And so the challenge is here. Figure out what opportunity is in solving that particular challenge. What am I missing? Why is this a challenge for me? And rather than look at it as a stumbling block or as a wall that you need to get over, you need to understand that this is the challenge. This is what we're facing. Maybe it's a product that we need to launch in the market, but we are struggling to sell this product. What is the challenge? Well, the challenge could be product market fit. That particular product does not fit into the market that you're in at all. It doesn't fit. It might be trendy, but it doesn't fit into the market. Okay, so then that is the challenge. So now how do we find that? We probably need to go to a different market. So you solve that. Or the clients that you are selling the thing to might not be able to afford it, right? So they're not buying the thing. So what is the challenge? It's a price issue for them. How do I then reduce that? Not necessarily reduce your prices, but you can then go to a bank and then speak to the bank and then create a new product where, let's say, the bank will create a credit system for those particular clients to purchase the product and then pay it bit by bit. So what you've done is you've identified that having access to funds was the major problem for your clients.
Great.
But then the opportunity here is you knew a bank CEO. So you're like, oh, I have 10,000 people that buy my product. I know they pay for it on monthly installments, right? How about I encourage them to be your customers? Then you then create a product that would then give them, loans or whatever for them to buy them. That's what you've done. See, so sometimes what you need to do is look at the challenge itself, but then find out how you need to solve that challenge. So who is facing that challenge? What is the actual challenge itself? Where is the challenge happening? And then when does it happen? And how are we going to go over that? And that is the mentality, because challenge is an opportunity for any entrepreneur. It should never be a stumbling block at all. It should be an opportunity for you to think, okay, I can create new products. I can create new solutions out of it. And that's what good entrepreneurs are supposed to be thinking like.
Will curiosity and flexibility be a good summary of what you just said?
100%.
Interesting.
100%.
Because you're asking questions.
Yeah.
And it will seem that's always a way to transition, to navigate out of a challenging situation. Just keep asking questions.
Asking questions, yeah. And I always say that to solve challenges or problems, drive into your childlike mentality.
Okay.
Because children are very curious. Children are always asking why something is not working. They want to get to the bottom end of it. And when you're in your childlike mentality everything is possible. You just have to figure out. But if you put yourself in the adult-like mentality, it will stop because you just, structure. See, so in challenges, it's about childlike. Then in the opportunity, you become an adult because you need to manage that. See, so that is the two that you need to be in. So when you approach a challenge, adopt a childlike mentality to it. Then in solving that problem, adopt adult mindset to it because you need to manage it. And that's the fundamental difference between the two. So curiosity and flexibility.
Let's stay with flexibility. The World Economic Forum has consistently listed flexibility and adaptability as the skills that one would need, especially since COVID or since the disruptions of the last decade. It has come up as the consistent attributes that they believe you must have if you want your career, your business, your professional life to endure and keep. It would almost seem that reinvention, flexibility, adaptability is the name of the game. You see new products, new ideas, new clients, new ways of doing things. How big is flexibility and how does one adopt that ability to just change when the circumstances seem to be trending against you or new doors open?
I mean, you tapped into that thinking, and I would like to throw it back to you that I think being adaptable and being flexible is almost like a God-given trait to us. The story with, I think, whether it's God and Job or God and Abraham, one of them, when he was saying something to do with Sodom and Gomorrah, when he said, if you find, it's Abraham, right? So if I find 50 people, what if I find 10 people? But God was flexible and very adaptable. It's like, okay. Right, just keep going. Negotiation, flexibility. God wasn't set in his way. It's like, no, I want 50 people and nothing else. He was very flexible because at the end, he wanted to prove a point to Abraham that this is what I can do for you. So irrespective of what you feel is not impossible, I'm flexible enough to let you reduce the numbers as long as we get to the point that we need to get to. And that's what, as leadership, you have to do. So it's a case of you want to educate, let's say a new government or a new leader, you want to educate 50,000 students in your country, right? Great, plausible. Clap for you. Be flexible in how you approach it. You might have to work with private sector. You might also have to work with the NGOs. You might have to work with your own agencies. That flexibility would then lead you to being able to achieve the results. Do not be stuck in your own way. They're thinking, you know what, I need to do it this way or nothing else. And I think there's this, Japanese saying that the tree that refuses to bend will break when the wind comes. And because we're not flexible enough, and in business, we need to be flexible. And we also need to adapt because we can't say, oh, this is the old way of doing things, right? Because right now, when you look at the way our society is, the parents, we're not as old as, you're 50, you're 60, but you don't look as old as your parents did when they were your age, right? And your children now have new form of information that their brains are much more open than when we were in their age, right? You can't say, well, this is what I was doing, so final. You need to be flexible and adaptable in the way in which they approach you in order to engage you. And you can move that into also business. As a leader, you have to adapt because when you employ younger people, they come with new ideas, different ballgame.
Let's end on faith. I can't let you go without talking about faith.
Right.
When all is said and done, you've done all the calculations, you've been flexible, you've prayed, you've communicated, you've done everything you know to do. Does faith have a place in the life of the person? Let's use you as an example. That's
100%.
Let's talk about faith.
Yeah, 100%. Without faith, anything that you do will not work.
Tell me about it.
Because faith is one of those things that says, you know what, against all odds, I could do it. Right? I have faith, I have that faith in me that God innate that I can do it. Faith is not an absence of reality. This is real, but I believe I can do it because I come from a seed that created something out of nothing. That took faith to do, right? I come from a seed where he saw the end of the creature that he's created, right? But he still held faith with that thing and molded it to the point that I'm in. He knows all my challenges, he knows all my flaws, but yet still he uproots me and puts me in a different position because he has faith that I will come out right. So you as a human being, you can never do anything without having faith, because that's what roots you. And a lot of people kind of take that, they don't take it seriously, right? And I feel like it's something that we need to put into the youth nowadays, because you see a lot of people, when they come up against a challenge, they lose hope, then they switch directions because they lost faith in themselves. So it's easier to make wrong decisions when you lack faith. When you lack faith, you make wrong decisions. And for me, it's one of the things that roots me. And one of my favorite, church or gospel songs is that no longer slave to fear, right? Because I'm a child of God. And that's what drives me. Against anything that I face, faith is what drives me. I don't fear it because it tells me that I'm a child of God. So then that's it. That's all I need to know.
That's all I need to know. Josiah, it's been a wonderful hour spent with you, listening, summarizing, learning from you, and inspiring our listeners and viewers that faith is the anchor on which we drive our lives, and it's based on the fact that God himself fitted in us something that takes on the impossible and makes it possible. Josiah, thank you so much for making time.
Thank you.
And promise me that we will do this again.
God will.
This is your home.
Yes.
Anytime, any day.
I'm glad.
Let's spend time talking about startups in the course of the year and share some lessons about how they can work their way to get a part of that $1 million startup funding. Because funding is one thing that many startups worry about. So let's find time to talk about it.
Yeah, we do.
Josiah Eyison is the CEO and co-founder of Ispace Foundation. He's been my guest for the hour talking about positioning for progress. And I'm sure that the learnings and the lessons are valuable for you as you navigate your way through this year. He says, maintain a focus on the star, your vision, throughout the year so that you don't become tired or weary, and let your faith be grounded in God and in his word. He says he's no longer a slave to fear because he knows without a doubt that he's a child of God. What about you? Are you grounded in the Lord? That is the closing thought for today. This has been Springboard, a virtual university brought to you by Springboard Ratio Foundation in partnership with MTN Ghana, the Enterprise Group, and the Ghana Growth Program, which is driven by MasterCard Foundation and Springboard. Next week, we launched the Springboard Virtual University Program on Joy News, starting from the 26th of January 2025 at 9 p.m. every Sunday. So we'll have it on Joy FM at 7 p.m. and on Joy News TV at 9 p.m. So plan with it and you will be inspired continuously because your personal value will shoot up every single week. My name is Albert Okran, saying God bless you, and God bless you.
Turn around. Turning point. Yeah.
He's a turn around.